Welcome to What's New and Neat in N-Scale, podcast number 6, which is being published at close of business on Friday the 1st of June 2018. My name is Dennis Turner and I am your host. In this podcast we will be covering the new releases from Intermountain, Atlas and Athearn, the June new releases from Microtrains, and a reminder that we still need your views on whether Microtrains should switch from plastic to metal wheels. So far the response has been almost 100% to metal wheels. Is there anyone else, and so far I've only had one person, but is there anyone else who would prefer that they stick with plastic wheels? Okay, we'll also be showing you a summary of the 33-inch metal wheels that are available in N-Scale. There's a very good summary on FIFO Hobby Supplies N-Scale website, which we'll utilise. But the purpose of this segment is to tell you what's available, because there seems to be some confusion. And of course, those people who understand metal wheels keep looking for the Fox Valley product, which just doesn't seem to be available. But there are alternatives. Anyway, we'll cover that later. So we're also going to do a segment on some really neat flexible foam and rubber rocks products. And once again, we have to thank Model Railroader Video Plus for allowing us to show you some extracts from their shows in which they utilised these products. We've just got a short segment to thank Kim Patterson for visiting Pat Lana's N-Scale Grandic Route layout. It's really great to see Ken showing off N-Scale layouts. We're also going to have a look at this month's Kato video. They put a video out each month, and it includes some N-Scale stuff. And finally, we'll do the What's New segment at our regular retailers. That's N-Scale Supply and Model Train Stuff, and that will round things off for this month. Note that the URLs to my website, Denver Railroads, and most of the other sites mentioned in our podcasts can be found in the credits at the end of each podcast. We have two sets of credits. One is for those sites that we visited in this month, or this podcast, and then there's another a second list that is permanent of the major players in the N-Scale market. Okay. Last month I listed all of the things that made N-Scale special. What is only in N-Scale. I listed the magazines and the conventions, etc. I forgot InTrack, and I feel really sorry about that, because InTrack for many years was the glue that held N-Scale together. There was a guy called Jim Fitzgerald, who any of you long-term N-Scalers will know very well. He was the guy who published the InTrack newsletter on an Apple Mac for 40 years. He did desktop publishing in the days before IBM produced their PC. He was a real pioneer, both at desktop publishing and N-Scale. And it's thanks to Jim and InTrack that N-Scale is the strong and independent voice it is today. We miss Jim terribly, but he was 90 when he passed, and that's a reasonable age. Not sure I'll get there myself personally. Anyway, enough of the morbid stuff. So there's InTrack's website, and they're still going strong, and they're still producing their newsletters, but it's on the internet now, of course, and they've still got their standards, and they're still running long train. Okay, this segment's going to be fairly quick, mainly because not a lot happening. We're going to cover what's new in the majors. We'll first of all go and look at Intermountain. Now, Intermountain, as I've told you in the past, update their website once a month, and they updated it on the 21st of May. That's approximately the same time each month on their new timetable. What's important about Intermountain is to look at this product status over here on the right, and understand that we now have, instead of just saying what month they're going to come in, it tells us that they're confirmed for publication, taking reservations, pending cancellation, and I'm looking for the one that's really important, queued for production. Purchase orders have been placed. So once something's queued for production, then it's really going to happen, and obviously in production is even better. Now I'll just quickly go down to the locomotives. If we can go down to F3, there we go. Nothing has changed since last month. FTs, most of them are confirmed for production. Most of the F3s are queued for production. There's a few that still need reservations. And queued for production. Oh, there we go. These are SD40s and then SD45s confirmed for production. Here we go. The tier 4s are in production. So they should actually ship in the not too distant future. So that's about all there is for Intermountain this month. Not a lot happening, but I believe that the F units are due in somewhere around June, July. So we should see some activity in the next couple of months. So that's Intermountain, and if you want to check on your own favourite stuff that you've been waiting 4 years for, like the F3s, you can go to that website. Okay, now we'll look at Athearn. Now to find out what's new at Athearn, you go to what's new. So what new arrivals and announcements, and then as you can see, you've got May the 25th. And this is in date order, so after a while you see it goes to April 27th. So there's only a few, and we'll go slower because the first few are of course HO, and then after a while we get to a whole 2 announcements in N scale. One being this trailer and flat car, which is a rerun of products that they've released in the past. The one thing that's different about this one is that I think it's being released in the as new and the futuristic TTX colours. If you don't know what I'm talking about, brown was, here we go, see on the left, brown was the as delivered paint scheme for TTX in the 50s, and they switched to yellow. I'm not sure exactly what date they switched to yellow, but it was somewhere between the late 50s and the early 60s. So if you're modelling the 40s and 50s, you really should be buying the as delivered brown paint schemes. So that's really good that they're doing that, but otherwise, as I say, it's a rerun. And we've got some 2-bay hoppers. So that's the extent of Athearn's new N-scale products for the month. And then we'll have a look at our friends Atlas. Now Atlas will look at their production schedule. For those of you who are not aware, you go to information, and then way down the bottom you'll see the words production schedule. So you click on production schedule and you get this page. Okay, I'm going to have to do it because I can't get rid of the menu. That's not going away either, so I'll give up. And then you get this, they put N-scale first, which is good. So you get this this list. If it's in red, then it's probably already shipped. If it's in yellow, then something may happen to it. So, for example, the 40-foot standard height containers, they're due to ship in let's get that right, due to ship in the second quarter of this year. So you go through and you look at the yellow ones, or if you're after a particular product, you look at the red ones. And then green ones are ones that are not shipping for a while. I'm not quite sure what the difference is. Maybe they may never ship, but I suspect they're just listed for some time in the future. It's interesting. We're going to look at 60-foot passenger cars, and as you can see, there's some 60-foot passenger cars there which are not due until the fourth quarter, which would possibly explain why they're listing passenger cars that they haven't got. But then on the other hand, it might not. You have to be a bit careful with Atlas once they actually get the product. I was after some locos the other month, and they never arrived at Model Train Stuff, and so I thought they hadn't shipped, and I finally got Atlas to tell me that Model Train Stuff hadn't even ordered them, and that was why they hadn't got any, which I found very disappointing, but by then it was too late to buy them from somewhere else because everybody had sold out. So that's the production schedule. As an alternative to that, you can actually go and click on N-scale up here and select one of those categories and then dive into them. So we're looking at rolling stock trainman. Okay, so I'm interested in 60-foot passenger cars for reasons you'll find out shortly. So flick through them, and there they are. Now you see these 5-car packs. Now I'm interested in the Rio Grande one of them. So if I click on that, now this is what I get. You've got in stock and pre-order. So obviously in stock. In stock means that they've shipped to dealers. But then you see there's my Rio Grande one that I'm interested in, and that's a pre-order. So that means it hasn't shipped yet. But I can't work out from the shipping schedule when it will ship. I mean, maybe it's that one that won't ship till the last quarter of this year. Maybe not. I also determined, I think last month, that the 5-packs have got different road numbers to the singles. So it's worth buying both the singles and the 5-packs if you're into 60-foot passenger cars. Okay, well that's it for the majors. We'll to find Microtrain's new releases, just go to their website, click on N-scale new releases, and if you're lucky, you'll get their new releases. The Microtrain's web page at this time of the month will show you the products that they released, announced at the end of May, which will ship to dealers on or around the 14th of June. but it also shows you those products that have been announced months ago, which are now going to ship to dealers. So it has that double whammy, so to speak. So so we have the Union Pacific two-tone grey coach, which is the third in their series of two-tone grey Union Pacific. As far as I know, I think that they're the first manufacturer to produce Union Pacific in two-tone grey since Concord did a special set, which I'm guessing was made by Rivarossi, and that was 30 odd years ago. There are more two-tones coming, but at the moment that's all there is. I'm just something in the back of my mind said Wheels of Time may have produced some, so I stand corrected if there's others. To go with them is, if anybody's interested, is a Model Power. Model Power have a locomotive, can't remember which one, it's a steam locomotive that's in two-tone grey, and Athearn have their Challenger in two-tone grey, and it may or may not still be available in some hobby shops. So if you're interested in Union Pacific two-tone grey, there's your options. So then we have a CSX covered hopper, Norfolk and Western boxcar. Now there's a Southern Pacific what do you call them? Container car. It's not a piggyback, it's a well car. Okay. Union Pacific World War II, another one in their Heinz series. If you like collectibles, that's what they are, the Heinz 57 series. A Canadian National double-door boxcar, a Great Northern mechanical reefer by the looks of it, Milwaukee Road outside sheafed boxcar, Burlington Northern bulkhead flat, and this is what I'm pleased about, the Waihuza 4-car log set, which was probably announced a while ago, but looks like it's going to ship in June. Then we've got a Cotton Belt Daylight heavyweight set, couple of Canadian Pacific SW 1500s, Ringling Brothers circus car, 2 cars. Okay, that's it from Microtrains for this month. So we shall move on to wheels. Now, as I've been saying for a couple of podcasts now, we need to know, or Microsoft want to know, whether you want them to change to metal wheels. Alright, now that's my summary of the metal wheels that are available, but before I go into depth in that, we're going to have a look at FIFO Hobby Supply. Every so often FIFO Hobby Supply have these pages of really cool information, and you normally find it by accident by doing a Google search and it comes on it, and I think that's how I found these. I don't think there's necessarily a menu item for wheel sets, but anyway, this is a list of most of the metal wheel manufacturers. Now that doesn't mean they're in stock. If you click to order, in most of the cases they don't have any. But we'll come back to the subject of stock when we look at my little spreadsheet at the end of this. So anyway, we have Microtrains. they make they make wheels for their box cars, for their freight cars. You can get it in a 12-pack or a 60-pack. They seem to go in and out of stock like a yo-yo. Right now, you'll have difficulty finding a 60-pack anywhere. Then there's some plastic wheels. This is a page on wheels, not just on metal wheels. So we'll move through the plastic. Then we've got BLMA. They make some metal wheels. Okay, now I don't pretend to understand the detail of all of this, but from what I can work out, for microtrains you need 33-inch, and they need to be, I think it's 0.540. Let's see if, no, click to order isn't going to give me more detail, or is it? It might do. No, it doesn't. Right. So now what the difference between 0.540 and 0.537 is, other than obviously a measurement change. What the significance of there is, I'm not sure. Maybe somebody can leave us a note so that we can explain it better. Because that does definitely says it's for microtrains. So I don't know. So then we have a 36 inch. 36 inch I think is for the older wheels. Okay, once again, this is a podcast of where you can find stuff and what's available. It is not a podcast of how you do stuff or any technical stuff. That's, go and look at Ron's Trains and other websites if you want that type of information. I'm only trying to show you what's available and where you can get it. I'm not in any way pretending to have any in-depth knowledge of the technical side. So then you've got Intermountain with some 33-inch 0.553, but they're for Concord and Atlas. So obviously there's a different, the Atlas and Concord require different wheels to microtrains. And then you've got the 33s and the 36-inch. And then you've got Intermountain 33-inch brass. That's another one. Intermountain 33-inch wheels, high detail. A few of them. And then we have Fox Valley. Okay, 3301. You see now they are 0.540. So that's 33-inch 0.540, which is what I understand is the standard for microtrains. Now these are the, this is the product, 3301, that everybody would like to buy. But it seems to be a bit of a myth as to whether it exists. Considering how many people want to buy them, I would have thought Fox Valley would be making them by the container load, but they're out of stock. They're out of stock at Fox Valley. They're out of stock just about everywhere. But they are considered to be the best. I'm not saying they're the best. I'm just saying that from what I read, people think they're the best. Then you've got some Fox Valley 33-inch wheels for Concord and Atlas. And some more Atlas, Fox Valley for microtrains. So this is a pack of 100. I mean, this is what people would really like. Okay, then we've got more Fox Valley, more Fox Valley. Fox Valley make quite a few, or yeah, they announce quite a few. More Fox Valley, right, that's it. So go and have a look at that page. We'll show you the website at the end, but this is my analysis of what's available, and I look at these things differently. I'm interested in the street price and the price per wheel. So what was not listed on FIFO's list is Rapido, and as of this minute in time, model train stuff, I think, still have at least one pack of the Rapidos, of those Rapido 100s. They had 5 of them when I looked last week. And their price works out at 56 cents a wheel, which is the cheapest of all of them. But it's a fairly standard wheel. I bought a pack of them. So, as I was saying, Rapido work out the cheapest. I've got a pack of 100 of them. Microtrains, I'd already bought. I have one pack of 60, and they're really nice. They're black, and they're quite, you see it says here, chemically blacked. And they really look nice. Plus, of course, they're microtrains, so you have every reason to think that a microtrain's wheel will go very well with a microtrain's car. And when I was doing my research last week, I discovered Model Train Stuff had 2 packs left in stock, which I bought. So I now have 180 Microtrains wheels and 100 Rapido, and I think I've got 12 Intermountain. But unfortunately, I haven't had time to start installing them, so I can't tell you anything about them except for their availability or lack thereof. So Rapido, you may well be able to get them. Don't ignore them if you want metal wheels. So in terms of price, Rapido cheapest, Microtrains next. Fox Valley, in spite of their good reputation, are only a couple of cents a wheel more expensive than Microtrains. Intermountain, they only seem to produce packs of 12, but they're not much more expensive if you can get them. They're only 75 cents a wheel. Then you have BLMA, and the only thing I know about BLMA is from FIFO's website. I don't know what the retail price is. The street price that FIFO were quoting was $18.39, so that makes them 77 cents a wheel, which is a good price. And then, out of the blue, a couple of weeks ago, on Model Train Supply's website, Northwest Shortline announced these packs of 4 nickel-silver weathered wheel sets. As you can see, they work out at $3.75 a wheel, so they're by no means cheap. So, all right, well, that's all I can tell you about wheels. Once again, I urge you to put a comment at the bottom as to whether you'd like Microtrains to change to metal wheels. This will be the last podcast that will probably go into this subject in any depth, although at some stage I want to look at body mounted couplers, but not right now. As I say, that's the end of our segment on wheels. In this next segment, I want to tell you about some neat products for building mountain scenery with realistic textured natural castings. Again, our friends over at Model Railroad Video Plus have been kind enough to allow us to show what they describe as bits of one of their videos introducing these products.
Here's a scene where it's kind of tough to figure out how to handle this scenery, especially because it's going to be a rock face. Now you can see here where the track is, well, pretty darn close to the back of the scenery. So what I did was I tiled the foam where I can attach rocks to this. Let me show you this on a photo first so we can see what we're talking about. All right, so in this signature scene here, you can see that we've got a bridge, and we can handle that easily. But the challenge I have is adding these rocks in this tiered formation kind of up the mountain. And I think I've got a solution for that. The answer I have here is foam. And it's not the foam that we've used on the rest of the layout, the foam insulation board, but instead flexible foam. Now, this Mountains and Minutes piece has nice, big, bulky strata there that we can kind of cut between the seams as we've done with other layouts and use those pieces to kind of situate in the areas that we need it. And in areas where we don't have a whole lot of relief and space to squeeze things in, we can use this thinner Cripple Bush material. All right, so...
Okay, let's look at some more bits.
And just like with foam insulation board, I always save all the schnibbly bits because you never know where they might fit in later. So I'm going to tack that in place here with my foam nail. And then I'll come back in and cut this entire section off. And in this case, I'm going to violate my rule here and kind of score it first and then roughly tear. It won't fit the strata exactly, but at least. Well, it's starting to look like a mountain full of push pins, but next up, we'll add some Sculpt-A-Mold after this dries. All right, we've had a little time for the rubber rocks and the foam sections here to do is vacuum this up and add the Sculpt-A-Mold. All right, I've got my stained mixture of Sculpt-A-Mold here, which approximates the gray color of the rocks, but it's not exact. We'll paint those later. But for this purpose, I'll start spackling in some of the sections here that have pink and blend some of the areas between the rocks. So I'll glop on a mixture at the top this time. And I don't want to cover up all of the rock face, but I do want to try to blend it together. But for starters, just need a base coat of the Sculpt-A-Mold. I'm going to set that down for a moment and pick up another tool, which is that on this face here that I just applied. So, well, there you have it. All the crevices are filled and the edges are rounded over. Next thing we do is let it dry and start to...
In addition to the rubber molds, as mentioned in that video, is a product called Sculpture Mold. Sculpture Mold is essential to binding the rubber molds and the foam board and everything together. Now, those of you who have never used Sculpture Mold, particularly those people outside the United States, don't think of this as plaster or plaster of Paris. It ain't. It's a completely different product. I'm not going to try and describe it to you, but it's a sort of paper mache product. It creates natural rock type formation in its own right. I've used it on my layout and I haven't bothered to carve it or any of the sexy things that they tell you to do in the videos. I've just slapped it on and then stained it, and it looks wonderful. Anyway, if you're outside the United States, You get this stuff from Amazon.com. That's .com, not co NZ or com.au or co.uk. Go to Amazon.com and type in sculpture mold, and it will come up. There are lots of different versions. The last one I got was this one here that you're seeing from Art Clay, American Art Clay. The reason you go to Amazon is because this stuff is heavy. It comes in 3-pound bags, but the postage rates from Amazon are very reasonable. You also have lots of choices, so you keep going through all the choices until you find a supplier that is A, prepared to send it to wherever you live, and B, is prepared to send it at a reasonable price. So anyway, that's how you get sculpture mold. So now going on to the rubber mold areas, let's first of all look at the Scenic Express website, which is here. Scenic Express is the only place that I've found that actually sells the Flex Rock, which is made by Mountains in Minutes. There may be others, but I can't find them. They're not easy to find. Scenic Express website's a bit weird, and it's sometimes difficult to find stuff. So you'll just have to work on the product search until you find the products. Or you could try just doing what I've done here. I've managed to get to Rock Foundation's Flexi Rock, and the advantage of that, hopefully, is that you're going to see more than just these Mountains in Minute products. Now, the main products are this brown one, which and the brown and the grey are identical, but brown is supposed to represent Midwestern states as well as the Rocky Mountains, and grey is supposed to, and grey is supposed to be the eastern states. Well, the bit of Rocky Mountains that I'm modelling is grey, so you tell me. Anyway, so you have a number of these products. Then you've got some other ones which I don't know anything about. HK is Hecky, so they obviously make some rubber moulds. I have absolutely no idea what the quality is like. Hecky, I presume, is European, probably German. So there's some Hecky products. And now, these weren't mentioned in the video, but I've used them. These are Cooch products, and they're quite different. They're a much thinner product and much smaller. And as you can see, some have peel and stick backing. They have a number of different products. A lot of them are walls for retaining walls, etc. And I've also used them in a rock foundation setting, which I'll show you. I'll show you how I've used them on my website when we've finished going through the commercial products. Now, so that's Mountains in Minutes and Cooch. Now the really big one is Cripple Bush. Now Cripple Bush products are just superb. It's just unbelievable how good these rubber molds are, or rubber rocks. But they are very expensive. They're $40 to $50 for the big ones, and it's the big ones that are really the most interesting. There are some $20 ones, but they're not cheap. But their postage rates are very reasonable, and they're a good company to deal with. I only know of Cripple Bush themselves as a source. I don't know of any retailers who sell the product. I've bought direct from them, Now the products that I bought this Blocky Road #1, which has incredible detail on it. A 2D picture like this will not give you do justice to it. I've also bought Sheer Cliff. There, where are we? Sheer Cliff. Sheer Cliff 1 and 3 I've bought. So there's Sheer Cliff 1 and Sheer Cliff 3. And now they're much smaller ones. I think they're $20 ones. And then we have Granite. These are superb. I've got Granite 2 and Granite 4. So I bought that one. That's something else. I think you know this bit in the middle is raised. So say 2D pictures just don't do justice. And there's Granite 4, and that's probably the best of them all, Granite 4. And you can see the strata lines. There's so much you can do with it. So now if we go to my website, you'll see how I've used it. Now the product that not the product, the scene I'm trying to recreate is this picture of the Gore Canyon. For any of you that are familiar with the Gore Canyon, you might realise that I've reversed it, and that tunnel there is normally on the right, not on the left, but for my layout it needed to be reversed. So I'm basically modelling this tunnel and this gully here, and right now there's the mess that it looked before painting, but all of the rocks on the left hand side are Cripple Bush. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of Cripple Bush with sculpture mould, which is the white product obviously, sculpture mould in between. Now the stuff over on the right hand side, which is all white, are Woodland Scenics rock moulds using either hydrocal or plaster of Paris, and they're pretty, you know, stock standard stuff, very good, but I couldn't possibly have used them to create this mountain over the tunnel, because there's I needed substance. So I was able to just put newspaper and stuff underneath the rock moulds. I think I may even have used Shaper Sheet to begin with, but Shaper Sheet, which is a Woodland Scenics product, just didn't give me enough depth and weight to it, and thickness. So as I say, I then put the rock moulds, the Cripple Bush moulds, over the newspaper, and managed to create that effect. Right, and there's the stained. I haven't got round to trees and what have you yet, but this is after staining, and you can't tell. I don't think you can tell the difference between the Cripple Bush, the sculpture mould, even the Woodland Scenics rocks on the right hand side. I'm really pleased with how that's turned out. So that's the first use. Now the second, the one at the top is Mountains in Minutes, the big thick rock. The one down the bottom is the Cooch, and I had a very small area, hardly any depth at all, and that's where I used the Cooch. It was sort of the riverbank of Gore Canyon, and I just had no space. So that's where I don't think I could have even got plaster sheets down there. But because the Cooch is a fixed product, I was able to get that around. And there it is, the bit on the left. Whoops, we'll go back there, try again, back. Those moulds were on the left, and once stained, you wouldn't know they were there. And then there's a brown Mountains in Minute rock mould, and there it is stained. And there's a picture of the whole mountain. So strongly recommend that anybody building mountain scenery like this consider those rubber molds. That they save you heaps of time, and they look fantastic. This is his May What's Neat, and the guy on the right is a guy called Lana, who has a really nice N-scale layout, which Ken tells us is the first N-scale layout he's demonstrated in 71 video podcasts for What's Neat. But the reason that this particular N-scale layout is being recorded is because of the guy on the left, who some of you may recognise as Kevin Rubel, who's the owner of Caboose Hobbies, one of Ken's sponsors. So still, he's showing us N-scale stuff, and that's great. I understand that in July he's going to be showcasing another N-scale layout, which is really fabulous, and we really appreciate that, Ken. Be interesting to see which sponsor is linked with that layout. If you're interested, and I'm not showing you Patrick Lana's layout, because you can go to Ken's May podcast and look at it yourself. But if you want more information about it, you need to know that it was published in Great Model Railroads in 2013. So if you can pick up a copy of that, you can read a lot about it. And if you're a subscriber to Model Railroader, then you can go to their track plan database, and you'll find the track plan. And the track plan's particularly interesting. I like it because it's an island, and my layout's an island. I like to be able to get at both sides. I hate being restricted against a wall and only being able to have an 18-inch shelf. I like to have a 3-foot shelf, which is possible with an island. So that's Patrick's track plan, and as I say, it's very interesting. And if you watch the video and then go and have a look at the track plan, you'll find the two fit together quite. Back to that YouTube list of what's new in N-scale. Kato. Kato have a number of, it looks like they put out a video every month, but this is their April one. They haven't done one for May. And I'll just stop that for a minute. Whilst the first part of the video is taken up with HO stuff, and in April they didn't release any new products at all. They just re-released some products. Some little way along this video are some information about new products into the future. So we'll just have a look. music on videos. I'd much rather people talk, but you might have a different opinion. Anyway, a number of those items I think are reruns, but nevertheless, that's a good little summary of what Kato intend to release over the next month. So, not next month, the next 6 months by the look of it. August is a way away now. So anyway, that gives you an idea. And on to the last segment of our May podcast, number 6, where we check out what's new at our regular retailers, N-Scale Supply and Model Train Stuff. Okay, looking at N-Scale Supply, first thing we find is that they've moved. If anybody's ever been to their old warehouse in Denver, you'd understand that why they're pleased that they've moved. The old place was up on the first floor and was pretty small, and there was no way you could have customers there. So obviously they've got some limited availability for customers at the new place, and they've got a street entrance with their sign on the door, so that's good for them. So they're obviously going up in the world, and they can now offer will call, which will make a lot of difference to those modelers in the Denver area. Okay, announcements. Those that we already knew about is the hoppers and the flat cars from Athearn. Arrivals, just as important. The F59 HPIs, the 3-bay ribbed hoppers, 50-foot plug door box cars, 36-foot old-time stock cars. I think these were originally Roundhouse products, which are now produced under Athearn's name. Hopefully they'll be better quality. I'm going to get a couple of them, if they've got any left later in the month, so I'll let you know some stage what they were like. Okay, 3-window caboose. So, and then we have the June microtrains releases, which we've already looked at in some depth on the microtrains page. We'll just look in a little bit more depth for those of you who may have skipped over the microtrains announcement. So we have the Heinz, various products, the two-tone grey Union Pacific. I'll let you coast your way through them. Now, N-Scale Supply will always show more products than microtrains themselves, because they're showing you the runner packs, which have been on back order for some time. And for example, those tank cars there, they weren't on microtrains list for June, so therefore they're not available yet, even though you can reserve them. Same applies to those coaches. Okay. So continuing down the page, arrival, Kato F44PH, Fox Valley caboose, GC laser structure, American Model Builders caboose kit, the F100 trucks from Atlas, This is not exactly a new product, but there's the NMRA standards gauge, and if any of you are actually building a layout and you don't have an NMRA standards gauge, I would urge you to buy one. It gives you standards for wheels and track and all sorts of stuff, and it's something you can't afford not to have if you want to troubleshoot when you get derailments and the like. So you can get that from N-Scale Supply. You can probably also get it from Model Train stuff. Intermountain announced a C44 9W. I think we looked at that last month. You know, it's announced. You might see it in a couple of years' time. I wouldn't hold your breath. They've got a lot of stuff to produce before they get to that one. Woodland Scenics, obviously continuing their put out stuff on their lighting systems. Appreciate some comments on their lighting system. I've got some stuff, but I haven't actually started using it yet. Does the price offset the convenience of using their system? Because obviously you can, use ordinary components, and I'm guessing you could do it at 10% of the price, but with a lot more work. Okay, bar mills, structures, Blue Fort shops, small cabooses, titchy trains, detailed parts, more caboose kits, micro trains, various weathered cars arrived. This is, you see there on the right hand side, left hand side, is the date, 13th of May. They arrived. Trainworks, they announced some quad hoppers back on the 9th of May, so that won't have been covered anywhere else in our podcasts. Kato made a product announcement of a Christmas train set, if you like that sort of stuff. Some trees, and there's Atlas 60-foot passenger cars, which we're aware of, and these are all announcements. And there's more GP40s. Gosh, I think how many times they've produced a GP40. And anyway, more GP40s. PS2 hoppers, gondolas. Then you're back to 2nd of May, which would be last month's Athearn announcements. So at that stage, we'll move on. All right, we'll quickly look at this 300, and then we'll call it a day for this month. All right, Bachmann. They won't be covered anywhere else because Bachmann don't seem to have a new release page. So this is obviously stuff that's come into Model Train stuff from Bachmann. So we've got some old-time cabooses, got some old-time boxcars, got a Viking excavator, some micro trains now. Okay, this is the micro trains Pacific Fruit Express 16 car reefer sets, which have been announced about 6 months ago. And they finally shipped a couple of weeks ago. And as you can see, they're $262 for the standard pack, or $299 if you want the weathered pack. All with plastic wheels, of course. So it gets expensive if you want to put metal wheels on all of them. That's one of the things that's kind of putting me off whether I should consider buying them. Anyway, now this is interesting. Micro Trains have produced a Western Pacific switcher. Very, very few Western Pacific locomotives produced at all, let alone a switcher. So now there's two of them, in fact. Then we've got a Union tank car, Now these, this is weathered stuff, which is why it's out of sequence. So they're not coming at the 14th of the month. The weathered stuff can arrive at any time. Okay, then we've got some cabooses, boxcar, and there are some more weathered boxcars. Then they've got those Athearn F59 PHIs that we looked at on N-Scale Supplies website. I think there's a few of them. Okay. And then we've got Athearn high cube plug door boxcars that have arrived. There's a few of them. Then we've got some Athearn cabooses. We've got Athearn mechanical reefers, Athearn hoppers, okay, Wheels of Time. Haven't seen much from Wheels of Time lately. So that's a PC&F 50-foot exterior post insulated boxcar in Penn Central. Don't see much stuff for Penn Central these days either. So quite unusual. Okay, they've also got them in Missouri Pacific and Frisco. Ah, and here's one for Rio Grande, which I hadn't noticed. Trouble is, it looks like it's, yep. It hasn't got roof walk, so it's more modern, too modern for me. So then we've got various trucks made by Bowser. Bowser is sort of all of a sudden they seem to be releasing all sorts of N-Scale stuff, which I hadn't seen anything from Bowser for years in N-Scale, and then all of a sudden all seems to be flying in the door. Okay, Fox Valley cabooses. What's that? Model Power FP7. US Army. Bit of an DCC and sound equipped for $95. My gosh, that's a very keen price. Interesting. I hadn't noticed that. It's missed my analysis each day. Okay, and one in Pensy. Then we're into Exact Rail. Have a number of railbox cars. Now these. And there's those Northwest Short Line packs of 4 metal wheels I told you about. 6 in stock. Yeah, I think they've had 6 in stock almost from the beginning. Yeah, that's an awful lot of money, $14.99 for only 4 wheels. So now, this Microtrains set of log cars is the new releases at the end of April, which shipped on or around the 14th of May. So we're back to about halfway through the month. Okay, and so that's a 4-car set in for Rio Grande with logs. I bought that set, very nice. And thanks to the logs, it weighs in at 1.1 ounces, which is the correct weight for that particular car. So I was very pleased with that. Plastic wheels, of course. Okay, Microtrains SW1500, a couple of them in CSX. There's another two-tone car for Union Pacific. That's a baggage car. It's quite nice. I've got that too. Okay, a tank car. So actually, Model Train stuff order quite good quantities of this stuff. You see 35 units there, 24 of them, 27 of them. So the product's been out for about 2-3 weeks now, and they've still got reasonable stock. So, yep, now that's a Western Pacific Express boxcar. I bought that as well. I really like that. It's a really nice looking car. They've got 28 of them still. You've got plenty of time to get in there. So Kato with some Amtrak units. Miller with an ice cream sign. Tichy train with some stuff. Then Kato with a French National set. Railtown with a run-through locomotive maintenance shed. Looks interesting. Quite reasonably priced at $19. Some microscale decals. There's an aeroplane, if you happen to be into aeroplanes. How that gets into trains, no idea. Okay, a coal porter. Quite a few coal porters, Intermountain coal porters. Okay, and there's some more micro trains. These, some of these will be, these are weathered items, which is why they're out of sequence. And then you get the scale trains, rivet counter. Now, I know that there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these, so I'm not going to go any further. Suffice to say that the G Tier 4 has landed, and no trouble whatsoever getting them from model train stuff. Okay, thank you all very much for listening to me. That's all we've got for this what's new and neat in N-Scale video podcast number 6 at the end of the month of May, with a dateline of 1st of June on it. And we look forward to talking to you again next month. Cheerio, adios, bye. You may have noticed that at the beginning of this podcast, in the background was a list of N-Scale manufacturers. I've now tidied that list up and edited it somewhat, added the URLs and display it for you here. The 5 majors we will report on every month. The minors we'll probably do half a dozen revolving each month. So next month you can expect to have reports on what's new at half a dozen of those minors. Now I'll leave this up for a few more seconds so that you can pause it and take a note of any URLs you want to know. But that's all from me. Talk to you again next month.
In 1842 I left the old world for the new, bad cess to the luck that brought me through to work upon the railroad. To work upon the railroad. In 1843 'twas then I met sweet Biddy McGee. An elegant wife she's been to me while working on the railroad. In 1845, I thought myself more dead than alive. I thought myself more dead than alive while working on the railroad. In 1847, sweet Biddy McGee, she went to heaven. If she left one kid, she left 11 to work upon the railroad.